The massive ship appeared without warning, materializing above Earth's atmosphere like a tear in reality itself. Its crystalline surface reflected starlight in impossible patterns, a structure that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Within minutes, every telescope and sensor array on Earth was pointed at the vessel that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Commander Raven Blackwood stood in the United Earth Defense Force Command Center, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the alien vessel. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this moment. The room hummed with tension as analysts and officers worked frantically to understand what they were facing. Multiple energy signatures detected, Lieutenant Kai Patel reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. They're unlike anything in our database, Commander. Whatever this is, it's not from any known civilization we've encountered. Before Raven could respond, every screen in the command center flickered to life. The face that appeared was both beautiful and terrifying, a being with skin like polished platinum, eyes that swirled with galaxies, and features that seemed to shift and change with each passing moment. Children of Earth, the being spoke, its voice resonating not just through speakers but seemingly within their minds. I am Sovereign Vex of the Xylaxian Eternal Empire. We have watched your species crawl from the mud, develop primitive technology, and take your first stumbling steps into space. Your potential has been evaluated, and we have deemed you worthy of ascension. Raven felt a chill run down her spine. There was something in that voice, not just arrogance, but an ancient, cold certainty that made her blood run cold. We offer you the gift of immortality, Vex continued, under the guidance of the Eternal Empire. Submit to our rule, and you shall transcend your mortal limitations. Resist, and we will simply wait. Time is meaningless to us, and your resistance will be nothing but a blink in our eternal existence. The command center erupted in whispers, but Raven kept her eyes fixed on the screen. She'd spent enough time in diplomatic negotiations to recognize a threat wrapped in honeyed words. Sovereign Vex, she responded, her voice steady. I am Commander Raven Blackwood of the United Earth Defense Force. While we appreciate your offer, humanity has always chosen its own path. We respectfully decline. The being's perfect features twisted into something approaching amusement. You misunderstand, Commander. This is not a negotiation. Your acceptance is irrelevant. The process has already begun. Across the globe, massive structures began materializing, crystalline spires that pierced the clouds, each one a mirror of the Xylaxian aesthetic. From these spires poured beings of living metal and light, their forms too perfect to be natural, too fluid to be machines. All defense stations, this is Commander Blackwood, Raven's voice cut through the chaos. Engage Protocol Omega. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. The Earth's orbital defense platforms roared to life, their energy weapons targeting the nearest spires. But the beams passed through them as if they were mirages, while the structures continued their impossible construction. In the streets below, humans watched in horror as their fellow citizens who ventured too close to the spires began to change. Their skin took on a metallic sheen, their eyes began to glow with an inner light. They were being transformed, converted into something that was neither fully organic nor purely synthetic. Dr. James Rhodes, head of the UEDF Science Division, burst into the command center, his usually immaculate lab coat askew. Commander, you need to see this, he said, projecting a hologram of cellular analysis. The spires are releasing some kind of nanoscale technology. It's not just transforming people, it's rewriting their very existence on a quantum level. Raven watched as the infection spread across city after city. But something wasn't right. Reports were coming in of resistance, people who seemed immune to the transformation, others who were fighting back against all odds. The Xylaxians' perfect plan was meeting its first taste of human unpredictability. Sir, Kai called out, his voice tight with controlled excitement. We're detecting anomalies in the transformation process. Some humans are not just resisting, they're adapting. Their bodies are somehow incorporating the Zylaxian technology but maintaining their humanity. A slow smile spread across Raven's face. They thought they knew everything about us, she said softly. But they never understood what makes us human. We don't just survive, we adapt, we evolve, we overcome. She turned to her crew, steel in her voice. And we're about to teach these immortals a lesson about the power of change. Above them, Sovereign Vex watched with the first stirring of an emotion the eternal being hadn't felt in millennia: uncertainty. These humans were proving to be far more interesting, and far more dangerous, than any species they had encountered in their endless existence. Perhaps, for the first time in eons, the Zylaxians had made a miscalculation. The war for humanity's future had begun, and neither side yet realized how it would change them both forever. Dr. Samira Nash hadn't slept in 3 days. The underground laboratory beneath the ruins of Geneva hummed with energy as she studied the holographic displays before her. Each one showed a different aspect of Zylaxian biology, if you could call it that. Their cellular structure defied everything she thought she knew about life itself. "You're looking at it wrong," a voice said from the shadows. Samira spun around, her hand reaching for the pulse pistol at her hip. A figure stepped into the light, and she gasped. It was a Zylaxian, but different from the others. Where they were perfect, this one showed flaws: patches of normal skin amid the metallic sheen, eyes that held warmth instead of cosmic coldness. "I am Theron," the being said, raising its hands in a gesture of peace. "Once a scholar of the Eternal Archives, now, something else. And I believe I can help you understand what you're seeing." "Why should I trust you?" Samira demanded, her finger on the trigger. "Your people are trying to destroy everything we are." Theron's face shifted, showing something almost like sadness. "Because immortality has a price, Dr. Nash. One that my people have paid for too long. What you see as invasion, they see as salvation, but they've forgotten what it means to truly live." Before Samira could respond, the lab's security systems blared to life. Commander Blackwood's voice crackled over the speakers. "All personnel, be advised. The Zylaxians have begun Phase 2. They're not just transforming humans anymore, they're harvesting consciousness itself." Theron's expression grew grave. "It's worse than I feared. They're not just trying to convert your species, they're trying to absorb what makes you unique. Your creativity, your adaptability, your capacity for change. These are traits we lost eons ago." Samira lowered her weapon slowly, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "What exactly are your people? What made you different from them?" "I was part of a secret research group," Theron explained, moving to the holographic displays. With a wave of his hand, he manipulated the images, showing new layers of complexity. "We studied the price of our immortality. Each transformation, each assimilation of a new species, made us more perfect, and less alive. We trade chaos for order, possibility for certainty, growth for stasis." Working together, Samira and Theron began to unravel the mysteries of Zylaxian biology. What they discovered was astonishing. The immortality of the Zylaxians wasn't just physical, it was a quantum-level stasis, a perfect preservation of form and thought. But this very perfection was their weakness. "Look at this," Samira said, pointing to a simulation. "Your cellular structure can't handle chaos. True randomness disrupts the quantum stasis field that maintains your immortality. That's why some humans are naturally resistant, our inherent quantum uncertainty interferes with the transformation process." Theron's eyes widened. "And that's why the Sovereign is so desperate to complete the harvest quickly. The longer humans resist, the more they adapt, the more dangerous they become to our very existence." In the war room above, Commander Blackwood was receiving reports from around the globe. The resistance wasn't just holding, it was growing stronger. Humans who survived attempted transformations were developing strange new abilities. Some could disrupt Zylaxian technology with a touch. Others showed signs of accelerated evolution, their bodies and minds adapting at unprecedented rates. They thought they were uplifting us, Raven mused, watching the tactical displays. Instead, they may have triggered the next step in human evolution. But the Xylaxians weren't idle. The spires had begun to pulse with new energy, sending waves of transformation attempts that were more aggressive, more desperate. In orbit, the crystalline ship had started to change shape, extending tendrils of impossible geometry toward Earth's surface. Back in the lab, Samira and Theron made a breakthrough. The quantum uncertainty field, Samira exclaimed, we can amplify it. Turn our greatest weakness into a weapon. It won't kill them, but it will force them to change, Theron finished. To evolve or die. To become truly alive again. He paused, looking at his own shifting form. Many of my people will resist. The fear of change, of imperfection, has driven us for millions of years. Is that why you helped us? Samira asked softly. Because you wanted to change? Theron's form flickered, showing more of his original, imperfect self. I helped because in studying humanity, I remembered something my people lost long ago, the beauty of uncertainty, the thrill of discovery, the courage to be flawed and finite and free. As they worked to develop their discovery into a weapon, neither of them noticed the subtle changes in the air around them. The very fabric of reality was beginning to shift, as two fundamentally different forms of existence, perfect immortality and chaotic life, collided and intertwined. The real war wasn't just for humanity's future anymore, it was for the very nature of existence itself. Above them, Sovereign Vex felt the changes beginning, and for the first time in uncounted millennia, felt something new, fear. The question was no longer whether humanity would submit to perfection, but whether perfection itself was about to be transformed by the unpredictable power of human evolution. The catacombs beneath Paris had become a haven for the resistance. Once a tourist attraction, now they housed thousands of survivors, their bodies altered by failed Xylaxian transformations but their spirits unbroken. Among them moved Jade Parker, once a street artist, now a leader of the underground movement. Her skin rippled with iridescent patterns, a side effect of the transformation attempt that had nearly killed her. They're calling us the Evolved, she told the gathered crowd, her voice echoing off ancient stones. But we're still human. Maybe more human than ever, because now we understand exactly what we're fighting for. The assembled survivors bore marks of their encounters with Xylaxian technology. Some glowed faintly in the darkness, others seemed to phase in and out of reality, and a few could manipulate the very energy the aliens used to transform humanity. Each failed conversion had created something new, something unprecedented. Miles above, in the Geneva laboratory, Dr. Samira Nash and Theron worked tirelessly to weaponize their discovery. The quantum uncertainty field generator was taking shape, a device that could disrupt the perfect stasis of Xylaxian immortality. The field will force them to experience change, Theron explained, his form increasingly unstable as he embraced imperfection. For beings who haven't changed in millions of years, it will be traumatic. Will it kill them? Samira asked, soldering another connection in the prototype. No, Theron replied, watching his hand flicker between metallic perfection and organic uncertainty. But it will force them to make a choice, evolve or retreat. Either way, they can't maintain their current form in the presence of quantum uncertainty. Commander Blackwood's voice crackled over the communication system. Dr. Nash, we have a situation. The Xylaxians have discovered what we're building. Sovereign Vex has issued an ultimatum, surrender the device, or they'll begin mass consciousness harvesting. On screens worldwide, Vex's perfect face appeared, now showing signs of strain. Your resistance has gone too far, the Sovereign declared. We offered you perfection, and you answer with chaos. Now we will take what we need by force. Your consciousness will serve the Eternal Empire, with or without your consent. The spires across the globe pulsed with new energy, and people began to collapse in the streets. Their bodies remained unchanged, but their minds were being pulled away, harvested for the patterns that made humanity unique. In the catacombs, Jade felt the attack begin. But something unexpected happened. The evolved, their bodies already altered by Xylaxian technology, didn't succumb. Instead, they became beacons of resistance, their changed biology creating safe zones around them where the consciousness harvest couldn't reach. They made us stronger, Jade realized, watching as normal humans huddled close to the evolved for protection. Every time they tried to perfect us, they just gave us new ways to fight back. Samira and Theron worked frantically to complete the device as reports came in from around the world. The consciousness harvest was spreading, but so was the resistance. Wherever the evolved gathered, humanity held on, protected by the very changes the Xylaxians had triggered. "There's something they don't understand," Samira said, making final adjustments to the generator. "Consciousness isn't just patterns and information. It's choice, change, chaos. They can't harvest what they can't comprehend." Theron's form stabilized momentarily, his eyes showing a depth of emotion no pure Xylaxian could express. "My people have spent so long pursuing perfection, we forgot that imperfection is what makes consciousness precious. Each flaw, each uncertainty, each moment of doubt, these are not weaknesses to be corrected. They are the essence of true life." In orbit, the crystalline ship began to pulse with blinding energy. The consciousness harvest was feeding back into the Xylaxian collective, but not as they had intended. Instead of absorbing human consciousness, they were being changed by it. The perfect symmetry of their vessel began to show flaws, organic patterns emerging in its crystalline structure. Sovereign Vex felt the change beginning in their own form, perfection cracking under the assault of human chaos. "What have you done?" they demanded, their voice reaching every mind on Earth. "Your consciousness, it spreads like a virus, corrupting our perfect order." "That's not corruption," Jade broadcasted back, her evolved form channeling power through the catacombs. "That's growth. That's life. That's what you forgot how to do." The quantum uncertainty generator was ready. Samira looked at Theron, seeing both fear and hope in his increasingly human expression. "Once we activate this," she said, "there's no going back. For any of us." "Perhaps," Theron replied, taking her hand, "that's exactly what both our species need, a future without certainty, without perfection, but with endless possibility." As they prepared to activate the device, the very air seemed to hum with potential. The war had evolved beyond a simple conflict between species. It had become a battle between two fundamental forces, the perfect stasis of immortality and the chaotic evolution of life itself. And in the catacombs, in laboratories, in streets and spaces between reality, humanity prepared for the final phase of a war that would redefine existence itself. The Xylaxian ship shuddered in orbit, its perfect crystalline surface now marred by organic patterns that spread like cracks in ice. Within its impossible geometry, a civil war had begun. Thousands of immortal beings, touched by human consciousness, were awakening to emotions they hadn't felt in millions of years. First Archon Lyra, once Vex's most trusted advisor, led the rebellion. Her form flickered between metallic perfection and something new, something alive. "We were wrong," her voice resonated through the ship's quantum network. "Our pursuit of perfection has become our prison. These humans, they show us another way." Sovereign Vex's response was immediate and terrible. The ship's internal defenses activated, crystalline warriors materializing to suppress the rebellion. "Traitors," Vex's voice thundered. "You would abandon eternal perfection for the chaos of mortality?" On Earth, the quantum uncertainty generator hummed to life in the Geneva laboratory. Samira and Theron worked frantically to extend its range, while Commander Blackwood coordinated a global response to the escalating crisis. "The Xylaxians are divided," Raven announced to her command staff. "We're detecting massive energy fluctuations in their ship. Whatever's happening up there, it's weakening their control of the transformation spires." In the Paris catacombs, Jade felt the change. The evolved were growing stronger, their hybrid biology resonating with the quantum uncertainty field. She led her people up from underground, emerging into streets where the crystalline spires were beginning to pulse with chaotic energy. "They're destabilizing," she called to her followers. "Now's our chance to take them down." Above, the civil war among the Xylaxians reached a critical point. Lyra and her followers had seized control of several key systems, their newly awakened emotions driving them to protect the very species they had come to conquer. But Vex's loyalists fought back with the cold precision of true immortals, their attacks devastating in their perfection. "You don't understand what you're destroying," Theron's voice reached his people through the quantum network. "Humanity's chaos, their imperfection, it's not a flaw to be corrected. It's the source of their strength, their creativity, their ability to transcend their own limitations." Sovereign Vex appeared before them, their form now a terrifying fusion of crystal and writhing energy. "I understand perfectly," they snarled. "Their chaos is a disease, infecting the purity we spent eons achieving. We are gods among mortals, and we will not be corrupted by lesser beings." The battle raged across multiple planes of existence. In orbit, the Xylaxian ship began to transform, its structure reflecting the civil war within. Parts crystallized into perfect, unchanging patterns, while others burst with organic growth and swirling energy. On Earth, the quantum uncertainty generator's effect spread globally. The transformation spires began to resonate at frequencies that shook their very foundation. Evolved humans, led by Jade and others like her, channeled their hybrid powers to amplify the effect. In the Geneva lab, Samira made a startling discovery. "The quantum field isn't just disrupting their immortality," she told Commander Blackwood. "It's offering them a choice. Look at the readings, some Xylaxians are willingly surrendering their perfection, choosing to embrace change." Theron nodded, his form now more human than Xylaxian. "For the first time in millions of years, we can choose our own path. Some, like Vex, will cling to perfection until it destroys them. Others—" He was interrupted by a massive energy surge. Sovereign Vex had decided to end the rebellion once and for all. The crystalline ship began to pulse with blinding light, preparing to release a wave of pure stasis that would freeze every being on Earth in eternal, perfect stasis. "If we cannot perfect you," Vex's voice boomed across the planet, "we will preserve you as you are, forever unchanging, forever static. A monument to your failure to embrace true immortality." But they had underestimated the strength of their own people's rebellion. Lyra and her followers, their bodies and minds transformed by exposure to human consciousness, turned the ship's own systems against their leader. "Humanity taught us something you refuse to learn," Lyra declared. "True immortality isn't about preventing change, it's about having the courage to embrace it, to grow, to evolve. Even if that means leaving behind everything we thought we were." The ship became a battlefield of opposing forces, perfect stasis against chaotic evolution, immortal certainty against mortal possibility. And on Earth, humanity watched and waited, knowing their own fate hung in the balance of this war among gods. Commander Blackwood gathered her forces for one final push. The evolved, the resistance, the remnants of Earth's military, all prepared for a last, desperate assault. But as they watched the battle unfold in orbit, they realized that the true victory might not come from force of arms, but from the power of an idea, that life without change is no life at all. The quantum uncertainty generator continued its work, its field growing stronger as more Xylaxians chose transformation over stasis. The perfect empire was crumbling, not from external attack, but from within, as its people remembered what it meant to truly live. The final battle began not with weapons, but with a choice. As Sovereign Vex stasis wave built to critical levels, Lyra and her transformed Xylaxians made their decision. They would sacrifice their immortality not just to save humanity, but to save themselves. "We choose life." Lyra's declaration resonated through the quantum network, joined by thousands of her kind. Their combined consciousness, already changed by human influence, created a cascading effect that rippled through the crystalline ship. On Earth, Dr. Samira Nash watched her instruments go haywire. The quantum uncertainty field is being amplified by their choice, she explained to Commander Blackwood. They're not just accepting change, they're embracing it at a fundamental level. Theron's form shifted constantly now, a visual representation of the transformation sweeping through his species. Vex doesn't understand, he said softly. True power isn't in perfect stasis, it's in the courage to let go of certainty. Above them, the massive ship began to fracture along new lines, not breaking apart, but transforming. Sections of pure crystal evolved into organic crystalline hybrid structures, pulsing with life and possibility. Sovereign Vex stasis wave faltered as more and more of their people chose transformation over perfection. In the Paris catacombs, Jade led the evolved in a different kind of battle. Their hybrid biology, once seen as a failed transformation, now served as a bridge between two species, two ways of existing. They channeled the quantum uncertainty through their changed bodies, creating zones where Vex power couldn't reach. We are the proof. Jade's voice carried through the underground network. Proof that perfection isn't the answer, adaptation is. Change is. Life is. Vex's voice thundered one last time across the planet, but now it carried an edge of desperation. You would throw away eons of evolution, the perfect immortality we achieved, for this chaos? This uncertainty? This, humanity? Yes, Lyra answered simply, her form now a beautiful fusion of crystalline grace and organic fluidity. Because they showed us what we forgot, that true evolution never stops. Perfect immortality is just another word for death. The quantum uncertainty generator reached full power, its effect amplified by the choices of countless Silaxians. The transformation spires across Earth began to change, their perfect geometry flowering into impossible new forms that bridged the gap between organic and crystalline, mortal and immortal, chaos and order. Commander Blackwood watched from the Geneva Command Center as humanity witnessed something unprecedented, the voluntary transformation of gods. They're not just changing physically, she observed. They're choosing to be more than what they were. Sovereign Vex made their final stand, gathering what remained of their pure immortal energy for one last attempt at preserving perfection. But they found themselves alone, facing not just humanity, but their own transformed people. Look at what you're becoming. Vex cried, their perfect form beginning to crack under the weight of isolation. Flawed, imperfect, mortal. Look at what we're becoming, Theron corrected, standing proudly beside Samira. Alive. Truly, completely alive, for the first time in millions of years. The quantum uncertainty field reached its peak, and reality itself seemed to hold its breath. In that moment, even Vex faced the truth, that their perfect immortality had become a perfect prison. As the field washed over them, their form began to change, not in surrender, but in final understanding. The transformation was neither victory nor defeat, but evolution. The Zylaxians who chose change became something new, beings who carried the wisdom of immortality but embraced the vitality of mortality. Their crystalline ship landed on Earth, no longer a weapon of conquest but a bridge between two ways of being. Humanity, too, was transformed. The evolved, like Jade, represented a new step in human development, beings who could channel the quantum uncertainty that made life itself possible. They became teachers and bridges, helping both species understand their new existence. In the Geneva laboratory, Samira and Theron stood before the quantum uncertainty generator, now a relic of a war that ended not in destruction, but in transcendence. Was it worth it? Samira asked, watching Theron's form settle into its new hybrid state. Giving up perfect immortality? Theron smiled, an expression that would have been impossible in his former existence. Perfect immortality was an illusion, he said. What we have now, the ability to change, to grow, to truly live, that's real immortality. Commander Blackwood, standing with Lyra amid the transformed spires of what would become the first joint human Zylaxian city, looked to the future. We thought we were fighting for survival, she mused, but we were fighting for something more, the right to keep evolving, keep changing, keep becoming more than what we are. The war ended not with the victory of chaos over order, or mortality over immortality, but with the understanding that true existence requires both. The Xylaxians learned that perfect stasis was a form of death, while humans learned that their greatest strength lay not in achieving perfection, but in the endless courage to change. And somewhere, in the quantum uncertainty that made it all possible, the universe itself seemed to smile at the birth of something new, a fusion of the eternal and the ephemeral, the perfect and the flawed, the immortal and the ever-changing miracle of life itself.